Hello and welcome to this episode of Digitally. We talk a lot about enterprise technology here, often though through the lens of a practitioner, a corporate officer, a venture capitalist. But today we're going to flip that perspective. And I wanted to explore how the next generation, the young career professionals of tomorrow, your next group of incoming employees are thinking and innovating with AI. And to do that, I'm joined by someone I know really well. It's my own son, Kunal Srivastava, who's just graduating college as we speak. Kunal, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So folks, this is a personal conversation, but I think it'll also serve as a window into our incoming workforce, their experience with, their exposure to, and frankly, their expectations of AI in your and my workplace. And so with that, let's dive in. Kunal, I want to first start not with you, but with students like you. And I reflect on the fact that you are, and tell us a little bit more about this, but you're driving growth at Perplexity. And where I want to go with that actually is you've done some work at Google, you've done some work at Perplexity. How do you think about search in the world of large language models versus like a Google search?
Interesting. Okay, I think it's a great first question. I'm really excited to talk about something like this. So yeah, I run university growth at Perplexity, and so my goal really is to increase student users using this product over the course of the most recent semester. Search is really interesting. I think that it comes down to information retrieval, and so that is what these core companies are solving right now. I'm a big Perplexity fan because it simply removes that manual step you get in Google when you have to manually scan, multiple links, assess credibility, maybe read a couple. Perplexity points you directly to them, and many LLM tools that have built-in search like ChatGPT, and this is becoming a very agnostic feature. But the fact that information is easier to retrieve for everybody is a really impactful thing that excites me.
I saw the Google phenomena happen when I was in Silicon Valley way back early in my career. This was before, maybe at the time you were there, but it was a big move going into rankings and then being able to use it as a way of increasing the relevance. And I think we now fast forward to a completely different world where it's not just relevance, but it's context, it's personalization. I'm able to ask follow-up questions. I'm just able to get a lot more personalized responses based on my history than
Absolutely.
I might.
And I also think Perplexity kind of skips out on this whole ad ranking bias that Google does, right? So these order of links may have some, they may not be direct, they may not be by quality. And so Perplexity kind of creates some type of diversity or equality in terms of supporting all different types of information.
So basically you can't do search engine optimization that you could on a Google search. Awesome. So let's start there, but now I want to move into you a little bit. You've always been the first one to tell me that your world is very different from mine, from ours. Let's explore that together. Well, I'll start with this, right? It's no secret that in my corporate world, our stacks are mostly Outlook for email, PowerPoint, Word, Excel. What does your stack look like?
Okay, I think when I turn on my laptop, my go-to app is called Obsidian, and this is a note-taking app that runs locally on my laptop, meaning that my files are not on the cloud. And I think the best feature is that you're able to link different notes or different pages by topic, right? And so you end up creating some type of web or graph of my entire life. And so maybe school is one set of nodes, and tennis is another set of nodes, or coding is another set of nodes, and these things can connect, right? Different relationships, and I can end up searching for a relationship. So that's my app. That's my everything app. It kind of keeps everything together, and what's nice is then I get a bunch of documents or prompts I can paste into ChatGPT. On the AI side, let's see. I use everything, right? I don't not use anything. I use ChatGPT for quick chats. I use Perplexity for, again, information retrieval. I use Claude or the new Gemini Flash 2.5. It's really good for coding or mathematical reasoning, right? So basically it's about understanding the different pros and cons, the trade-offs, and these many pieces of software that are coming out and using them together. And I think lastly, since you mentioned PowerPoint, I use a company called Pitch that I like to shout out. It's really good, very quickly. You want to pitch an idea, you need 10 slides. It's much easier than PowerPoint. They have everything there.
Wow. And so when you have to come back and work in the world that I live in, which is PowerPoint and Excel. How do you bridge the gap, or do you want to bridge that gap?
I don't want. I mean, I think that the tools you use are powerful for their own reasons, right? I am using I this and for the same reason the tools I use are very powerful for my reason. I think I'm much more into automations, and I don't need I don't need a heavy hitting software. You know, sometimes I just need the lighter softwares. I'm sure in the future when I'm making decks and very involved calculations, I think those archaic softwares will also be used as well, right? But I think the beauty, what excites me the most is the fact that I have so much choice, right? I can kind of pick between PowerPoint or Pitch and Canva and all these things, right? And I can kind of cater to my needs for different tasks.
That's amazing. It's amazing, and it's true in a corporate environment. We want consistency, we want reusability, and so having a common platform sometimes helps. But also, we perhaps miss out on some of the most innovative new things that are coming through. I know one of the things you introduced me to as an example was Notion, and I've become a big fan of Notion that I use quite consistently. So thank you for that. Okay, so we've understood a little bit of this idea. I want to now shift into software. Obviously, you're in software programming. You're graduating in a couple of weeks. First off, tell us what kind of software programming coding you actually do, and then I want to take that conversation into understanding what does your stack look like for coding.
Yeah, I would say I'm extremely interested in all parts of scalable software, right? And so I initially learned how to code on YouTube, and I took a couple classes in high school and college, right? But what spoke out to me the most, especially after internships at larger companies with technologies that scale, was that I love the architecture. I love this design hat that I put on and say, let me make a choice between serving 100 users very well or 1 million users with a second of lag, right? And then it's about, okay, how do I design the system? So this is what I'm really most interested in right now in software engineering, which is distributed systems and computer architecture.
Excellent. And so you've done this at a few places. You've done it at hackathons. Where does all of this
I think
come into
most
play?
notably, I've done this at Microsoft and Palantir. In general, the fun scalability stuff really comes once your project hits around 5,000, in between 5,000 and 10,000 lines of code, right? It's unreasonable to do during a hackathon. However, this is in the medium to large size code bases, you definitely get this.
Okay, so then let's get on to what stack you use. You know, obviously
Yeah.
I'm dating myself, and you know this. I mean, I learned software programming at a time when machine language was still actually around. So obviously a lot of progression since then. But even when I was doing real software programming, it's looked and felt very different from what you would do today. I want to get a peek into that world. I want to understand what you use. What is your ID? What does your stack look like?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of software engineering, correct?
Yes.
I would say that the very first programming language I ever learned was Java, and so I would recommend this to anybody who's looking to get into computer science. I think it's at the perfect. I'll talk about what I mean by abstraction level. Once I learned that language, and LLMs came out and were widespread, a really interesting thing happens where I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it in a different language, right? So it's like, okay, I understand Java. I know exactly what I want to say, but I don't know I don't know what the translation is, right? I don't have the Google Translate. And that's where this use case of like, how do I do this in C++? Bing, right to ChatGPT. Or how do I do this in Python? Or how can I scale this faster, right? And so right now, to answer directly, I'm using anything and everything. Again, there's a human decision made between trade-offs. What technology do I use? Why do I use it? What are the downsides? What are the benefits I'll get with using this? So I'm still making those decisions, right? But I'm having LLMs and AI really help me out with this machine translation, as you were talking about.
So many that are not software programmers would easily see the analogy between being able to speak in English and have a large language model translated into another language. And in many ways, what you're saying is once you understand how to construct a sentence, and I'm using a bad analogy here, get the idea across in one language, in your case, for instance, you started with Java, the ability to do this, automatically do it in any language of choice becomes super easy with this new capability. And so with all of that, then, what does your stack look like? What do you actually work on when you start? What do you use? Where do you go? Give us a peek into that life.
Yeah, I will use two of my favorite things out right now are Cursor and Replit. Replit is it's basically you can run a bunch of agents natively on the web, and Cursor is it's an extension of VS Code. So it's a massive, it's a widely popular thing. But basically in Cursor, I have my code, it's a code editor, and on the right-hand side I have a chat. And with this chat, I can talk to an agent that actually affects these things. I guess now's a good time to touch on the fact that I definitely doubt the accuracy of LLMs generally and holistically. I'm very aware of this, and I think it's really good to go up actually read these benchmarks, right? When LLMs get published, you can go see what percent it got on the SAT, and you can actually go see these things. You can see the questions it missed, right? And so it's pretty important to see the pitfalls of these different types of technology. And I'll be the first to say there are times where it gets my code completely wrong. And again, there's times where I don't even prompt correctly, right? And so there's no way to even go about that problem. And so that's what makes the agents thing beautiful. You can try something out. It'll go write the code. You can run it right away. It'll render live in my front end. Oh, something's wrong, let me just revert back. And then I can try a different prompt. And then if that prompt works, I can save that prompt back into my Obsidian, and I can save in my notes for next time. Right? And saving prompts has been something I've started doing recently.
Wow.
But yeah, Cursor is my big stack. Again, I'll use GitHub deployments, or again, if I'm in an internship, there's some CI/CD pipeline. But in general, having some Copilot to assist my software engineering is where I think the money is.
That's amazing, because I think what you're really saying is you not only use these new tools, but you've sort of changed the way you actually code, how you keep memory around things that work for you, and then reuse them. And I also think I loved your point about be thoughtful and careful and intentional about the use of large language models. They're not always 100% right, and having that awareness allows you to use it where it's appropriate, but not fall into the obvious traps. It's a fantastic insight. It does bring up a different question, though. So much of everything's getting automated, and you're in software programming. You just spent 4 years trying to get to that degree. You're entering the workforce as a software programmer. What does the future of software programming look like if everything's just going to get automated? We need less of you, don't we?
If I could put it in one sentence, this is the way I feel. If I gained no skills from this point forward, the thing that's going to take my job is not going to be AI, but it's going to be an expert user of AI. I've been pointing to many different examples, very very vaguely, right? But software engineering is heading to a place where code is everywhere. It's not seen as impressive anymore to crank out 5,000 lines of code, right? That is something that now is just expected. However, I think I'm getting into system design and architecture, and these are the things that humans will always be needed for. Let's do a really quick example in 20 seconds. Let's say I'm trying to create some type of Netflix-like recommendation engine.
Okay.
So you watch a lot of media. It'll see the media you've watched and recommend more. But hold on, what about a user who's never used our service before? What if we have no data on this user? What do we show then? We could show most popular. We could show by location. We could show there's so many ways to go to solve this problem. And this is not something there's a clear answer for, right? So you really have to think about the user, think about the product, think about your company, think about your business, think about your business logic, all these things. And this example is clear cut. Hopefully it paints a clear picture of why I think software architects or software engineers will now be leading a team of agents, right? But they'll still be making these key decisions about the technology. It's not like we're building technology for AIs, right? They're helping us build technology for humans. And so in the end, we are the end user, humans are the end user, they should be the stakeholders, etc.
Excellent. Well, good luck with all of that, Kunal. Thank you for joining us today. And you're going to be on LinkedIn. You'll be connected to this. So I'm sure if people reach out, you'll give it a listening ear. Thanks again for joining us.